Desert News, powered by the Namibian newspaper.
The time is 6 o'clock and these are the headlines making news this hour. Mutilated body found in Karabib. 60% of Namibians have no access to clean water. Kietman's murder accused denied bail. LPM wants evicted farm Acacia residents given land. And Shifeta accuses competitors of name dropping. Catch the news in detail at 7 o'clock. And now to get into your international news for the morning, we start off in Zimbabwe, where Newsday reports that three political parties in parliament, ZANU-PF, the Citizens Coalition for Change, and MDC Alliance, have called for a truce ahead of the 2023 general elections. In a rare occasion organized by the Zimbabwe Institute, the country's main political parties, public and private media editors, the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, and government through the Information and Publicity Ministry met yesterday in Kadoma for a two-day indaba ending today to dialogue and chart the 2023 information dissemination roadmap. The political leaders and government prayed for tolerance, a violence-free 2023 plebiscite, and implored the media to be fair and balanced in its reportage. In her keynote address, Information and Publicity Minister Monica Mutsvangwa said as the country gears for elections, peace and unity are more important than ever.
Over now to Tanzania, where the presidents of that country and Kenya have agreed to fast-track construction of a natural gas pipeline designed to increase trade and lower energy costs for both countries. The decision was reached on Monday in bilateral talks in Dar es Salaam, led by Tanzanian President Samia Hassan and Kenyan President William Ruto during a two-day visit. Last year, Hassan and Kenya's then-President Uhuru Kenyatta signed an agreement in Nairobi to start working on the gas pipeline project, but actual construction has yet to commence. The two countries have generally maintained positive ties in politics and trade, but have occasional trade spats. The projected natural gas pipeline would run for about 600 kilometers between Dar es Salaam and Mombasa. There is no projected completion date.
And across our border in South Africa, SABC News reports that the Eastern Cape Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs MEC, Zolile Williams, has condemned the increase in acts of violence against elected public representatives in the province. This follows another torching and shooting incident against the council whip of the Port St. John's local municipality. Zulile Moni's home came under attack from unknown assailants who shot at his house, wounding a 33-year-old family member before setting his house alight. The incident follows earlier attacks on the mayor and speaker of the council. Williams has called a meeting with the provincial police commissioner.
Over to France, where a former Liberian rebel went on trial on Monday in Paris on charges of crimes against humanity, torture, and acts of barbarism during the West African country civil war in the 1990s. Now, Kunti Kamara, who is a 47-year-old, is accused of complicity in massive and systemic torture and inhumane acts against civilians in Liberia's Lofa county in 1993 to 1994. As one of the leaders of the Ulimo armed group. Now, he was less than 20 years old at the time, and he faces life in prison and has since denied committing such acts. 3 minutes past 6 is the time of the clock. That does conclude the international news on Desert Radio. More Breakfast in the Desert after this.
Breakfast in the Desert with John Collin and Alana. Breakfast in the Desert. Breakfast in the Desert. In the desert. In the desert.
That's right. It is a Wednesday morning. It is Breakfast in the Desert here on Desert Radio 95.3 FM, where myself, Arlana, and John Collin will be taking you all the way to 9 o'clock. Good morning to you and yours, and I hope that you're having a good start to the day. John Collin, good morning.
Hey, what's happening?
I'm well. How are you?
Can't complain too much. It's a Wednesday, like you said, so we are ready to make sure that the day gets off to a good start and, of course, enjoy the hump day.
Absolutely, and the hump day will be a good one. It looks like the weather is going to be nice. I think from this point on, it will be consistent. Temperatures between 15 to 30 plus degrees Celsius. Our low this morning is 15 degrees Celsius. It is currently that outside, but we will have a high of 32 degrees later on in the day. It looks like it's going to be similar to yesterday, quite cloudy, so not too hot, but hot nonetheless.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's getting a bit cooler now. It's not too hot. You're not like, dying of ridiculous heat, but it's getting better, which means I hope that everyone can go out and just, enjoy the day.
Absolutely. And as the day is ahead of us, let's get started. We will get into your political desk in a minute. But just before we do that, I implore you to head over to Facebook where we are live. And we have a question of the day running for you as we do every single morning. And today's question is, should Namibia still practice virginity testing in modern day? Should Namibia still practice virginity testing in the modern day? You can head over to Facebook, that is at The Namibian. Let us know your thoughts on that question. You can also just say good morning. Let us know where you're watching or listening from and how you're getting your morning started. What are you having for breakfast? We also have our WhatsApp line open, and that number is 0811446083, 0811446083. Head over to WhatsApp, drop us a DM there, and you can also leave us a voice note if you feel so inclined. But as I said, time for our political desk, so let's get into that right now.
The political desk.
Yeah, I think this was a disappointing year for Parliament in the sense that only a handful of bills were actually passed.
The first mistake that one will make is that you think you can satisfy all expectations, which we can't.
What are the macroeconomic policies that are in place? What are the access to finances?
And that's what I was telling the other people. I was presiding over very most important people, and they recognize a presiding officer.
We are slowly retreating into some episodes of where council was when we were observing it from outside.
It is not the level of politics that is expected.
The very thing that we're not happy about.
The political desk.
Thank you very much for inviting me to the political desk.
The political desk on Breakfast in the Desert.
To start off our political desk this morning, Landers People's Movement Chief Whip Henny Sabeb recently said alternative land should be allocated to people evicted from Farm Acacia. Now, he says the people do not have the resources to find an alternative.
Some people are still hounded around like animals in their own country. That Farm Acacia be allocated to this group of evicted people, or that alternative land be allocated to them. It is not good that whereas we claim we are following the doctrine of Pan-Africanism, whereas we are saying brotherhood, sisterhood, whereas we claim that black governments are now governing in Southern Africa, in the case of Namibia, SWAPO, and other political parties, is that now we keep on evicting fellow citizens. And these are not elites. It's not people who have money that you can say, okay, I can offer you to buy this farm at the cost of 5 million or 10 million. These are weak people in our society. Now, these people did not fall off from heaven. Where do you want them to go and live? It is so touching. It is filled with no emotions, no morality, no ethics involved, that we are beginning to forget the most vulnerable in our society. It's not good that we put people on the street. Honestly, it's not good. Now, community that are now evicted from this acacia farm, where are they? Yeah. In the midst of the things. And now these state resources are being, it's like a toy. Huh? Okay, you guys have last time, now today, now Dominga Utara, you must now eat. Huh? Where was the tender process? If it was done, how come they are only being circulating amongst the small circle of the same elites?
Same people. And
these people, some of them are apparently from the SWAPO Central Committee. They were serving there. And then they were youth league leaders in the SWAPO Youth League. But the question remains to say, it's how come we are talking about black economic empowerment. What is the class agenda that we actually have? What do we think about a child in Kavango East and West and in Zambezi, the ones that are killed just for trying to fish to put food on the table.
Yes.
So these are some of the questions that we need to find out. What is going on here? And why in all these things is the First Lady's name always involved? Why? I mean, the son, I'm told, with all due respect, all of us must benefit from the natural resources of this country. But this man is 27 years old. He has done nothing yet, according to the proceeds from what is going on. They are multimillionaires. Not only that, we had Stinahu. Is it Stinahu? Stinahu. These are all people that came empty-handed.
She came with a bag.
With a bag,
Of
as you
clothes.
say, and then now today they own a lot of wealth. They have accumulated, and this is what we are saying. It's unfair. Maybe what we should do is to throw away all these rhetorics of policies like the black economic empowerment. What is the other one that they wanted to introduce? NIAF and all those things. We must get rid of it because it doesn't serve us anymore.
It doesn't.
Why don't we allocate to a group of young people? Let's say, set up companies and say, instead of giving it to those two guys, one Arab and the local, why don't we expand the cake and say, okay, now we are going to identify 100 youth and give that as part of the class agenda of empowering a broad base of Namibians. Now, one person makes how much per annum, like those guys are making? 23 million, 20 million. Now, we could spread it amongst 100 youth and say each youth gets 1 million. Then you spend 100 million into productive sector. Now, those guys, what do? And I even wonder whether really it's their businesses or they are just fronts for people behind. I wonder. These are questions that must be asked. And I'm urging the Minister of Mines and Energy. I understand it's in the court, but these are the things that he must express himself about openly and honestly. Otherwise, we can all say goodbye if only certain people in Namibia should enjoy from the mineral resources and the other natural resources of our country. When it comes to the tourism sector, it is closed. It's the same names that you are hearing.
The political desk.
Yeah, I think this was disappointing year for Parliament in the sense that only a handful of bills were actually passed.
The first mistake that one will make is that you think you can satisfy all expectations, which we can't.
What are the macroeconomic policies that are in place? What are the access to finances?
And that's what I was telling the other people. I was presiding over very most important people, and they recognize a presiding officer.
We are slowly retreating into some episodes of where council was when we were observing it from outside.
It is not the level of politics that is expected.
The very thing that we're not happy about.
The political desk.
Thank you very much for inviting me to the political desk.
The political desk on Breakfast in the Desert.
13 minutes past 6 is the time on the clock, and moving on with our political desk. The city of Windhoek yesterday commemorated Health and Hygiene Promotion Day with the theme of universal hand hygiene. Now, our journalist, Mercy Karombe, spoke to a few Windhoekers to hear their views about the importance of washing hands. Here is what they had to say.
Wash your hands. It helps keep the doctor away.
It is important to keep your hands clean and washed to avoid getting sick and bacteria building up on your hands.
It's important to wash your hands so they are clean.
Now, in other news, in our political desk, speaking at the commemoration, the European Union Deputy Head of Commission, that's Kosia Lachot, said over 60% of Namibians have limited access to potable water and sanitation facilities. They are also subject to unsafe hygiene practices. Lachot was speaking earlier yesterday at the official commemoration of Health and Hygiene Promotion Month at Soweto Market.
Currently, and I'm repeating now, over 60% of Namibians have poor access to water and sanitation facilities and are subject to unsafe hygiene practices. 50% of residents of the informal settlements have no access to toilet. The project that we are funding works with a network of 60 volunteers that engage in the public information campaign and is implemented currently in 9 towns across Namibia. It has built more than 24 sanitation centers that provide demonstration toilets, hand washing facilities, and waste collection points. Residents within the project area to date have built more than 4,800 toilets. The initiative also includes a child-specific component with a focus on early childhood education centers. It educates children on safe sanitation practices, such as hand washing, the hygienic handling of food, and safe disposing of solid waste. I trust we will have a chance to celebrate these and other achievements in the area of sanitation on 19th of November, the World Toilet Day, while still bringing attention to this fundamental human right. As today we celebrate the International Day of Girl Child, so we celebrate Girl Child, I would just like to stress here the challenges that the girls face in terms of sanitation that are different and sometimes more challenging than those of boys. And Dr.
Now, during that event, Mercy Karombe also caught up with the mayor of Windhoek, that's Sade Kawanas, to discuss the challenges that the city is facing in the provision of sanitation, hygiene facilities, clean water and housing. She says the challenge faced by the city in providing basic services is the continued push by people to build houses in undesignated areas. She added that lack of finances is the biggest challenge faced by the city, while they also struggle with human capital. Kawanas further added that the city has also not grown and at the rate that the population within the boundaries have grown.
It has always been very critical and important for the city to provide basic services to all its residents. Now, we have to look at the picture holistically. City of Windhoek must provide services to all its residents, yet City of Windhoek is also obligated to pay NAM Water or NAM Power in terms of provision for water and electricity. So you have to strike the balance. There are areas where rates, taxes are being paid, and those areas also subsidize, for example, the informal settlements, because the informal settlements are the biggest area where we do not have, for example, access of water to individual households. Therefore, you have the communal toilets and you have the communal water points. But obviously, we also understand that that is not enough. With the growing population of Windhoek, we need to start providing access to land, because once you have access to land and you have tenure to land, you then give the individuals, or you empower the individuals to be able to get financial assistance where they're able to then build their houses and then obviously have this individual services provided in terms of servicing the land for water and electricity. Now, unless that happens within the city where the informal settlements are given tenure, you will be sitting with a situation where people are seated on plots that are not planned. Water cannot be provided in terms of bulk services, and then the issues continue. So let's start first things first. We must be able to provide land and affordable housing to our people. There are certain people that will be able to say, yes, city, you built for me because it's affordable. And there are other people that will say, because I have tenure for the piece of land that you have given me, I'm able to access financial finances from banks and so forth, and therefore I can build. Now, the city in itself is honestly trying to make sure that the residents of Windhoek, especially in the informal settlements, have access to water. There are certain areas which people have settled on where the city cannot provide the basic services of water and electricity and sanitation. Therefore, there are plans that they get the communal tabs, but obviously they also complain that the distance are too long, they can't walk, it's not safe for our women and children. So there are plans to look at how best are we going to deal with that. And some of the interventions is with the central government in terms of affordable housing, that the ultra low, where the energy and COW together with KRC are building homes within the informal settlements. But we must be realistic and honest about this. The population has grown to such an extent that it is, with the resources that the city has, unfortunately, the city cannot do it alone. The city needs its stakeholders, its partners, central government, regional government to come on board and obviously tackle this issue head on in terms of provision of basic services to all our residents.
How many people are actually on the